Oh, hi there. I was just reading about this fancy case, McDonald versus the City of Chicago. It's really quite interesting. It was about the Bill of Rights and legislative action. It started when Otis McDonald, a citizen of Chicago, sued the city for what in his mind was an all unlawful ban on handguns. He believed that their de facto ban, which required registration of the firearms, but they would never accept the registration, violated his Second Amendment right to bear arms, so he sued the city to get his firearm rights. As a result, a great battle commenced between those who had guns, those who didn't have guns, those who wanted guns, and the, the battle would have been much shorter and more interesting had it not taken place in a courtroom. Yes, the courtroom, the trial level court, can you guess what they did? They decided that they would dismiss the case in favor of the city of Chicago, completely dismissing the case. Yes, but Otis, a very determined individual, would not be bested, so he set out on the road of appeals, eventually winding up at the appeal court. Fittingly named. Can you guess which way they ruled? Yes. They also ruled in favor of the city of Chicago, reaffirming the trial level's decision. However, still very determined, Mr. McDonald decided to continue on the road and winded up at the biggest appeal court of them all, the Supreme Court of the United States of America. The court had recently heard a similar case between Heller and Washington, D.C. Heller was trying to remove the handgun ban from Washington, D.C., which was similar, and the court ruled in favor of Heller, affirming that such a ban was beyond the power of our national government. But it did not set the precedent for the states. The case was probably brought up now because of the previous ruling. While it didn't dictate the outcome of Otis's case, he knew that a more conservative court, which favored gun rights, would make his case more likely to succeed. Now, the ruling of the Supreme Court extends far beyond simply Chicago. The precedent could affirm or reject several bans throughout the country and prevent them in the future. Chicago and the people without guns, what is your argument?
Our gun ban protects our police officers, says it keeps guns off the streets, and any guns seen are known to be illegal and hostile. With less guns on the streets, we will have less crime, since guns cause crime. This improves our quality of life and protects our youth from the dangers of guns and gun violence.
Mr. McDonald?
Well, criminals can obtain firearms whether they're banned or not, and people will be safer if they can defend themselves. That's beside the point, however. The Second Amendment ensures my right to have a firearm, and the 14th Amendment means that that right applies to the state in addition to the federal government.
Let's see what the justices had to say. Yes, the 5 more conservative justices were all ruling in favor of Mr. McDonald, while the 4 more liberal justices ruled for the city of Chicago. And while you may be opposed to the decision, I believe that the decision was acceptable and that judicial review worked in favor of our country, because while high crime areas should heavily restrict guns, an outright ban is just detrimental and infringes on our constitutional rights. Otis won the case, and I believe that that was in the best interest. Otis returned a hero to some and a villain to others. Now, this precedent of the case will shape the future of gun regulation in our country. Whether more bans can be created, according to this they cannot, unless the precedent changes, then the gun bans will be ruled unconstitutional, and several ones will probably be removed throughout the country. Thank you. Have a great